The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
Close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil hÉalithe, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Graham Canty, Cork All-Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
Hello and welcome back to the Star Sport podcast. It's 2024 and we're back from our winter break, ready to go again in what we hope will be another brilliant year for West Cork sport. I'm joined as always by Star Sport editor Ciaran McCarthy. Ciaran, how are you after our break? Any warm weather training camps, any niggling injuries left from the year before?
I definitely need some sort of pre-season training to work off those selection boxes and those boxes of heroes that multiplied in the weeks before Christmas, but then disappeared as the festive period went on. But we all know at home here where they went. So now we had a great time. Lovely Christmas, lovely New Year's, but it's back into the reality of it now. Back into looking forward to a huge year, Dylan. There's so much to look forward to this year. Like, I'm just thinking off the top of my head here, the Olympics in the summer, like that's going to be mega. That's going to be incredible. But before that, we have a busy few weeks ahead.
Absolutely, and we're if last year's anything to go by, this year should be a stormer as well. The Star Sport podcast is brought to you in association with our friends at Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, where your bank really does matter. Choose credit union, choose local, choose community. Now, on this week's podcast, we'll be joined by Cullyhanna Martra selector Gearóid Ó ahead of the biggest game in his club's history as they get ready for an All-Ireland intermediate football final on Sunday. That's coming up later. But Ciaran, first we're going to look back at what in the end was a heartbreaking defeat for Castlehaven in the All-Ireland senior football semi-final against St. Bridget's last weekend. The game finished 1-11 to 10 points in the Roscommon side's favour, and you were up in Thurles to see the game. What did you make of it?
Haven just left himself with so much work to do after a poor start. St. Bridget's twice led by 6 points in the first half, and they were really good value for that, Dylan. I thought Bridget's were really good in that first half. Their foot forward line have been O'Carroll, Brian Derwin and Bobby Nugent. It was actually brilliant to watch. Just the speed, how lively they were, the link-up play, and they were clinical, they were ruthless. I'd say, I didn't think did they have a bite in the first half? I'm not sure, but some of their scores were just superb. And the Haven, to be honest, the Haven struggled with them. The Haven struggled to live with Bridget's, and at one stage in the first half, we're like, oh God, it looked like it could be a bit one-sided, especially after that first quarter. And after Brian Derwin got the goal, they tagged on a point in as well. And that stretched the lead out to 6 points for the first time. And they're like, okay, Haven are in a bit of trouble here. But we know this Haven team was a resilient bunch. And they kind of settled to their task. And they did, point by point, they just clawed their way back into the game. But they never really recovered from that poor start. They just gave themselves too much to do. Like I'm writing in Thursday Star, in a 100-meter sprint, you don't give a team a 10-meter head start, and that's exactly what Castlehaven did. And they came so close to reeling them in. Thinking of the second half when Rory Maguire had a great chance of a goal. He was through one-on-one. He opted for power, rattled the crossbar. And I was at a stage when Haven were 2 points down. If he got that, Haven were ahead. And all of a sudden, they had momentum and the game changes. Even go back to the very start, one of the first attacks in the game, I think it was Michael Hurley who could have been fouled, and Brian had the free from the right-hand side, took it with his right foot, but sent it across the post and wide. But if Brian nailed that, and usually you'd say he would, like it was an uncharacteristic wide for Brian, suddenly Haven were winning in the game. They were leading a point to no score, and that could have settled them. So I think it's a one where Haven will look back with regrets, and there's definitely what-if moments in there.
Yeah, just looking at it, like they had, like you said, their Bridget's only had one wide at halftime, so they were clinical in that first half. But you think, like we've followed Haven since the start of the campaign, and we saw throughout the county championship and into Munster that they always found a way to edge tight games. And do you think maybe it's a case just of that little bit of luck that they needed to get that far caught up with them, rather than the game going disastrously wrong or anything like that?
You've obviously seen my piece in Thursday Southern Star, my colour piece, because it's called The Day Haven's Luck Ran Out, because that's exactly what I'm always touching on. Like, I suppose to start off with, there's no one getting away the Bridget's were the better team on the day, and St. Bridget's deserved to win. So this is not a case of kind of Haven are sore losers and, oh, we should have won this game, because they realise, and they do realise, that they just weren't good enough on the day. And I was chatting to Mark Collins on the field up in Thurles afterwards, and he was saying that was the most disappointing thing, that they didn't play as well as they could. And I think that's what kind of will gnaw at them for the next while, that they didn't play near their potential, yet they were that close to getting to first All-Ireland club football final. In the end, they lost by 4 points. With 5 minutes to go, they were only 1 point down, but then they had to chase the game, and Bridget's rediscovered their score touch again and tagged on a couple of late scores, including Ben O'Carroll tapped over a penalty, almost one of the last kicks of the game. That was the insurance score that sent Bridget's through to the final. But you're right, I think Haven's luck did run out. When we think back to the Munster final against Dingle, that was a game that they never led in, yet they still want to be crowned Munster champions. Dingle could and should have won that game a couple of times. 3 points up in the second half of normal time, 3 points up at the start of the second half of extra time. Yet Haven clawed their way back in, and they always found a way to stay in the game and keep themselves alive. In fairness, Castlehaven did something similar on Sunday up in Thurles. They found a way to stay in the game. When things looked a small bit bleak for them in the first half, they didn't panic. Like I said, it's a resilient group. There's fierce character there. They know what they have to do to win games. If you look back at their journey, it took them 9 championship games to get to Sunday's All-Ireland final. They beat the Bars and they beat Nemo back-to-back to win a county title. Like that's some going. They took out Dingle, the Kerry senior club champions in the Munster final. That's a scalp to get. They came through against Cratloe after extra time in the Munster quarter final. They beat a good Ballincollig team in the Cork quarter final. So what I'm trying to get at is this is a good Haven team, and this is a Haven team that beat a lot of good teams to get to where they are. But the heights they hit maybe earlier in the year, they just didn't reproduce it on Sunday. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First off, Bridget's are really good, really, really good, really impressed with them. Okay, they definitely had a wobble in the second half, but when they were given time and room to play, Jesus, they're just a good team to watch. I was on this fellow Ross Common in the lead up to the game, trying to find out a small bit about them, and he said if it's a dry day, he goes, they're lively, good, fast, and that all rang true in that first half. So impressed with them. Haven left chances after them. I think their shot conversion rate was only 41%, and that's not good enough. And James McCarthy, the manager, said as much after the game that they'd be unhappy with their conversion rate. They left a lot of scores after them. Mentioned Rory Maguire's chance of the goal. Jack Cahalane he had a shot that kissed the crossbar in the first half. A more difficult chance than Rory Maguire's, but a chance nonetheless. Then when Haven weren't playing as well as they could, they definitely stood off Bridget's far too much in the first half. When they pushed up in the more in the second half and contested the Bridget's kick out, they definitely got a bit of joy there. But then there's the unknown factors that we didn't know about, Dylan. There were so many different Haven fellas carried knocks and niggles. Okay, again, it's not an excuse. This is the reality of football. And that's why Haven's luck ran out in one sense, because they had such a good run up to the Munster final. But it's almost that game is they started to take on water since then. The Haven ship started to take on a bit of water. Michael Hurley went off with a hamstring injury against Dingle, didn't train since, and he wasn't match sharp on Sunday. Conor Cahalane suffered a thigh injury at training in the last week or so. And if you looked at him the last day, I think it was on his right side. He couldn't solder the ball. They eventually took him off at the end. And heard someone say that he shouldn't even have played the game. If you look at Damon Cahalane, one of his calves was strapped as well. He was wearing a compression sleeve. He'd injured a calf muscle in training. Jack O'Neill, who's one of Haven's unsung heroes, started all the knockout games in Cork and started all the games in Munster. He picked up a foot injury in a challenge game against UCC in the lead up to the game, and he didn't even figure. So all of a sudden, Haven were without important players, and then some of their main players just weren't fully fit. You could say they weren't able to exert the influence that they had in previous games. So all these combined saw Haven produced not the performance that they wanted, ended up paying the results, because at this stage of the championship, Dylan, the best teams survive, and Bridget's definitely made Haven pay for being under par.
You mentioned the injuries and I guess tiredness as well, like after a very busy season. Do you think that will, in a sense, kind of add to the frustration at the loss, like that? You mentioned like a couple of players maybe not being fully fit or not being at their complete best for the semi-final. And is there kind of a little bit of sense of what could have been, you know, if Michael Hurley had been able to train beforehand, or if Damien Cahalane hadn't been injured, gotten that injury and things like that?
Yeah, and if Rory Maguire scored that goal, or if Jack Cahalane shot went in, there's definitely a lot of what if moments off this. James McCarthy when I was chatting to him after, he was saying that they'll put this behind them and they'll kind of celebrate their county and Munster wins, which they should, because Castlehaven have had a fantastic season, first county title in 10 years, first Munster title since 97. Like, you can't take that away from this group. But look at how much it took to get Castlehaven back to this stage again. Their first All-Ireland semi-final since 1998. These don't happen too often. Like, it's almost as once in a career chance for a footballer to get to an All-Ireland club final. So for Castlehaven to come away with it knowing that they weren't at their best, and there were a couple of factors that militated against them, of course that will bother them, because they'll know they were close. They lost by 4 points. And like I said, Bridget's tagged on 3 right at the end. But Haven know they're every bit as good as St. Bridget's, but they just didn't perform on the day. And it's whatever it is, Castlehaven cannot get past the All-Ireland semi-final. That's their 4th time being in the semi-final and their 4th time losing. And the last 3 defeats, Kilmacud in 95, Erin's Island in 98, and now to St. Bridget's in 24, have all come in Simple Stadium. Like, so if Haven ever get to this stage again, they'd be saying, Jesus, please God, do not put us in Thurles, put us anywhere else. Because if you go back to 98 as well, that contentious semi-final against Erin's Isle, Colin Crowley hit the upright. There was a chance that they missed, and then the Erin's Isle contentious goal, it kind of hit one post across the goal and hit the other, and it came out. And it's the uprights, it's the woodwork in Thurles. It's like there's some little curse in it that doesn't want Haven to progress. But so yeah, it'll be disappointing this week. It'll be really disappointing. Of course, they'll celebrate the fact that they are Munster champions. They are county champions, but they'll also know they were 1 win away from an All-Ireland club final, and it's like it's that close. You can almost touch it, but now they're back to square one again.
Yeah, and speaking of kind of back to square one, obviously, look, it's a bit early to start talking about next season, but you mentioned earlier that these kind of games, like an All-Ireland semi-final last time was 1998, it is kind of a once-in-a-career opportunity. How will a lot of these players be thinking going into next season? And you could see the idea of having to do it all again being a tough kind of hill to get over.
More so, I'd say, for the older fellas, you think the likes of Martra, who's 33, Brian Hurley's turning 32 in April, Damien Cahalane's in his early 30s. Like, these are lads they were there in 2012 and 2013 when Haven won their back-to-back counties just over a decade ago. Like, they'll know themselves, like, this was such a great opportunity, a big opportunity to get to that All-Ireland club final. Of course, they'll dust themselves down and they'll go again. But like I said, you're back to square one. It took Castlehaven so much to get to where they are now. Like I went through earlier, some of the teams that they beat, and everything had to fall into place in terms of and I write about it in Thursday's Southern Star. They won 1 game on a sudden death penalty shootout. They won another game after extra time. They won a couple of games they won 3 games by just 2 points. They won 1 game by 3 points, 1 game by 4 points. Like, these are fine margins. And Haven were on the right side of all those fine margins right up until the All-Ireland semi-final, when their luck ran out. And Lady Luck decided, lads, you had your luck in the Munster final, that's it. And next thing, all of a sudden, Castlehaven ran out of credit, and they were just, we saw what happened. So it's back to square one. So I think for the younger fellas in the panel, this run will have been a huge benefit to them. The experience that they got. It's the young fellas who were in their first, second, or third championship season to be part of a team that won a county and won a Munster. That will give them great credit. So there's that experience that they can bank there for the older fellas just to kind of to go again. Of course they will, kind of they know themselves that they're good enough to get to this level, and they'll take confidence off their run too. It's just, I suppose, what we'll have to see now what happens in terms of management. Will James McCarthy stay on, or will he decide, okay, it's time to hand over the reins to someone else? He's been in charge for 4 years now, and even a few pieces we did towards the tail end of this campaign, they were talking about that this success was the culmination of a 4-year journey that started back in 2020. So I think James McCarthy will have to have a chat and see, does he have the appetite, energy to go again for a 5th season, or will he hand over to someone else? And then you look at the draw for the county championship was made just before Christmas, and it's another almost group of date where Haven are back in with Carbery Rangers, and they're back in with Clonakilty again. So yeah, and those fixtures are actually fixed already for later in the year. So like the wheel just doesn't stop turning. The Haven players who want to break now for a small bit, they've been going a long time. But it's a big ask to get back to where they want to be. But then again, Dylan, that's what the super clubs do. If we're looking at the other side of the draw, the Kilmacuds and the Glens, they're at the end of the championship year after year after year. And I think Haven would love to kind of to elevate themselves to become a club like that. But that just takes a lot of hard work. So yeah, it's a tough one to digest.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess maybe to end on a bit more of a positive, in 10 years, 20 years, when people are looking back on this season, where will they rank it? Not just in terms of like great Castlehaven seasons, but great West Cork seasons.
Oh yeah, this is, in fairness to Castlehaven, okay, things didn't fall their way on Sunday, and they'll be disappointed. But like I said earlier, brilliant campaign, a sensational campaign to win another county title, to win a Munster title. They've now won 4 Munster titles. Like, they're the most successful West Cork club ever when it comes to winning Munster senior club titles, and they now have 6 county senior titles as well. So like, it's been an incredible season, and they're also crowned Munster GA Club of the Year at the Munster GA Award. So this was a superb campaign for Castlehaven. Okay, it didn't get into Croke Park in All Ireland final day, but only one club in the country will win the Andy Merrigan Cup every year, and it's either going to be St. Bridget's or Glen on Sunday week. But Castlehaven got to the last 4 in Ireland. Like, that's an incredible achievement. So nobody can take that away from them. And like I said earlier, the younger fellas will feel the benefit of this, the confidence they'll get and the experience that they'll have of not alone playing the best in Cork, but playing the best in Munster and then playing the Connacht champions. So this will stand out as one of Castlehaven's best ever campaigns. And have to say too, like, a huge Castlehaven crowd in Thurles on Sunday. When Castlehaven needed their fans, they were definitely there, like, kind of cheering them on. It was the same up in the Gaelic grounds in Thurles for the Munster final. I can't say there was many people left back in Castletownshend in Union Hall on Sunday. Everyone seemed to be up in Thurles, and again, I think that's great for the players. You could see it even on the pitch after. So many Castlehaven fans were there, kind of consoling with the players, going up to them. It's such a tight-knit, football-mad community that they really are all in this together. So the community will hurt along with the players, but they'll all heal together, and they'll all get back on the horse again. But in terms of where this ranks, right up there, because it was a super year for West Cork GA, and it was Castlehaven that led the charge. Not only did the men's team lead the charge, they won a Rebel Oak under 17 Division 1 championship title as well, and the women's team won a Senior B county football title in their first year up senior. So a really good harvest for Castlehaven from their 2023 season, and they're down at the moment, but you never write Castlehaven out.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to take a very quick break now, but we'll be back in a moment to chat about Martra's All-Ireland Intermediate Football Final that's coming up on Sunday.
The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
Now, Martra are preparing for the biggest game of the club's history as they count down to Sunday's All-Ireland Intermediate Football Final against Cullyhanna of Armagh. Star reporter Sean Holland has been covering the build-up to the game for us and joins the podcast now. Sean, we'll hear your chat with Gearóid Ó hÉalithe soon, but can you give us a bit of a context as to the enormity of the game for this club?
Yeah, so Dylan, it's going to be Martra's biggest ever day. You know, they're a very small rural parish in mid-Cork. They love their Irish down there. They love their Gaelic football down there. So in terms of the biggest days to be playing an All-Ireland final in Croke Park, there's none bigger for Martra. They've been on a fantastic journey. They've known what it's like to lose. They've had an awful time the last couple of years trying to get past the semi-final stage. They eventually got past that this year. They got into the county final. They came back from the depths of hell, as you could say it, with the points in added time to beat Bantry. But their Munster journey has been fantastic. They had the unique chance to host two Munster Championship games, the quarter-final and the semi-final, and then play the final in Mallow, beating Mungret St. Paul's. So that brought them to their All-Ireland semi-final, which was actually Martra's first ever championship game outside of the Cork County bounds. And they made hard work of it in the end, but it was a fantastic win. They won by a point over St. Kevin's Castlehaven. And it was kind of nearly a small bit of a full circle moment for John Evans, who had previously managed Roscommon, that the only player involved with St. Kevin's Castlehaven that he would have had any connection with in his time in Roscommon, Darren McDermott, actually missed the last kick of the game to equalise and allowed Martra to go through to the final. But they roll on now for Sunday, and excitement's reached fever pitch down below there. I had the chance to speak with both John and Gearóid Ó hÉalithe, Gearóid Healy. So they explained really what it means to the people down there, and it means an awful lot. And I'm sure they'll be very excited now for the opportunity to win All-Ireland on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the manager, John Evans, there. He's a man who comes with a lot of experience. He's won as a manager an All-Ireland senior football final with Lawn Rangers in 1996. He's managed at Intercounty. And I guess the job of a manager is to help players fulfill their potential and help a group like exceed expectations, and that's exactly what he's doing with Martra.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. He was brought in really to get them over that semi-final hurdle, and that's what he's done. And ever since then, it's been game by game, and they've been just tipping away. Like John is pretty much as old school as you get. Like, he'll tell you straight what you need to know, and you know, he puts in an awful lot of work as well. Gearóid Healy was actually telling me the amount of effort John put in is just crazy, in terms of he's a big advocate for using the video analysis to find out about players. So he'd even go into detail in terms of where players like to shoot from, you know, how far their range is, if they're left-footed, right-footed. He's put in a lot of effort down through the years and still does. And he's using all his expertise to Martra's benefit, and hopefully they can benefit once more now on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we'll hear from Gearóid in just a moment. You were speaking to him for the podcast. But I guess to sum him up, there's probably no man who deserves a day out in Croke Park as much as Gearóid does. He does so much work for the club and the parish, from under eights up to the senior team, and as we'll hear, sweeping roads for weddings as well. He's a great club man, isn't he?
Oh, fantastic. He lives and breathes Martra. Obviously involved in the school teaching as well down through the years, involved in the GA. He's probably one of the biggest characters in the parish, and even you could just see last week when you're watching the match at TG Cahir, he's on the selecting line, and the amount of people coming up to him and shaking his hand. You know, like Gearóid is Martra, and he deserves his big day out, as does everyone in the parish. But we spoke to him, and he's looking forward to it. He spoke about how many a time he's gone up to Croke Park. You know, they had Noel O'Leary back then, you know, and they'll be there following, you know, watching him with his battles with Paul Galvin. But it's a fantastic opportunity now, and he spoke about it, how they get to go up and watch their own team, to see the white and blue in Croke Park, and he's very excited for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, fittingly for an area that loves speaking Oscuelga, the game is on TG Cahir. That is on at 3:30 on Sunday. Let's hear from Gearóid Ó hÉalithe.
Right now, I'm delighted to be joined by Martra selector Gearóid Ó hÉalithe, or Gearóid hÉalithe. Gearóid, how are things?
Extremely good, Sean. Thank you very much for having us on.
No problem at all. So, Gearóid, I'd like to kind of get the story behind Martra getting to the All-Ireland final this year, and maybe if you'd kind of almost bring us along on your journey this year, and kind of give us an understanding of how a parish so small got to a stage so big.
Yeah. Well, Sean, I suppose we started off at the beginning of the year with a few injuries and a smaller panel, and while we were contesting Division 1 against all the bigger guns, we managed to finish mid-table and well above the relegation area, so we held our ground there. Thankfully, towards the summer, then before the group stages started off, our injuries cleared up, and our first out was against hÉalithe. Now, we played reasonably well against a good hÉalithe team. We won that game 11 points to 9. I'd say a tightish enough game. Either side could have won it. We had a draw then against Kilkenny. We're missing one player against Kilkenny, but I'm sure Kilkenny were probably missing one as well, so that would even that out. So that was a draw against the winners of last year's intermediate championship. Then we overcame the Piershig reasonably comfortably enough, having conceded 2 early goals. So that left us then, Sean, in second place in the group behind Kilkenny, which meant that we played. We were due to play our next door neighbours, then hÉalithe, in the quarter final. So that game was arranged for Macroom, and in front of a huge crowd, under big pressure. I'd say we were maybe with 40 minutes left in the game, with 20 minutes left in the game, I think we were still ahead. We were behind definitely by 5 or 6 points, but something clicked with us that night. We were able to introduce 2 of our injured fellas, Anthony Cooney and Ty Corkery, around that time, and we seemed to click, and we won the game by more 5 points maybe in the end. So we were delighted with that. I think that gave us huge momentum going forward, that turnabout, which meant then that we progressed to play Castletown Bear in Bantry, which we did. Another tightish game. Any side could have won that too. I thought Castlehaven Bear set up very well. We were very we found it hard to penetrate them, but got a reasonably good goal that set us on our way. So we overcame that, which meant that we ended up in the final versus Bantry. Now, the blight going into that game was that our Cork player Thygo Corkera managed to get himself a red in the semi-final. So we had to head into the county final versus Bantry, which is where we wanted to be for a number of years now. We won the intermediate game, the intermediate championship in 2018 with our very successful Kevin O'Sullivan, Pat Hughes, and Donald Noonan management. But after that, we really wanted, or we felt we were able, like it was within our ability range, we'll say, to win the Premier Intermediate Championship. So we were delighted to reach that final. And with the new management this year of John Evans, Donald O'Buckle, and myself, we were delighted to reach that, and took Bantry on in that final in Cork without, as I said, Tyke. Having played extremely well then for about 40 minutes, Bantry roared back into it and took the lead. But we managed, through the excellent sharpshooting of super sub Shane O'Deneen, who scored the last 3 points of the game, to bring us from 2 behind to 1 in front in 4 minutes into injury time. So we were actually thrilled with that. The look of the draw then helped us as well, Sean, in the sense that in the Munster Championship, which we'd never been in before or never qualified for before, it meant that there was a home draw for the Cork winners. So the draw meant that Kilmihil from County Clare made the long journey to Martra, and so having them at home was a great advantage. Nice team as well, a well-prepared team. Suffered from a bit of a break, as they say, so we managed to win that game, I suppose, comfortably enough in the finish. But I'd say Kilmihil were probably unfortunate to have been have been finished in the Clare Championship for a bit longer than what they'd have liked, I'd say, before they met us. And it was I remember talking to them at the time, it was very difficult to get challenges. So I think that run helped us as well, Sean, the games coming on fortnight by fortnight by fortnight. That win then ensured that the draw yet again favoured the Cork team, which meant that the Kerry champions, Milton Castlemaine, had to come to Martra as well. So we were delighted to with that occasion, because we had a huge crowd of, I'd say, every person that was ever born and still alive from Martra was there on that day, coming from Dublin, Belfast, Cork, everywhere. And even one family from America came home for that game. They were so excited. And managed, after a rocky start to the second half, managed to survive by 3 points. That gave us huge momentum. I think that, it brought its own pressures as well, I suppose, because in the history of this competition has meant that the Kerry winners, really, the Kerry champions, have gone on to win Munster and reach the All-Ireland in I'd say every year since the regrading of the renaming and the regrading of the Cork system. We'll say the last Cork team to win Munster was Clyde, I'd say, in 2013, and before that, in the All-Ireland final, it would have been Carbery Rangers, going away back to 2003, I'd say. Maybe 2004. But anyway, we came across a fine young Mungret team from Limerick who will have a year. They will be they're an excellent team and deserving champions from Limerick. But I suppose they had quite a young team, and that experience will do them a lot of good. And they're a growing team and a growing club. So we were delighted to win our Munster title. And coming home that evening, it was fantastic, because our aim was to win the county, as they say, and our hope was to win the county. To have a Munster under our belt, then it felt unreal, really. And John Evans and Donald Buckley and all the other guys and all the officers, Sheila and Niall, the whole club was just euphoric, really, with that. So two players then, one former player, very recent former player, and another current player, Sean Kelleher and Danny O'Connell, had weddings over Christmas, and of course the Christmas season came as well. So we found that challenging to manage as well, because weddings are big occasions for players and for people, and so you've got to cut them a bit of slack. And so we enjoyed those. We enjoyed Christmas, and got back at it then on Stevens's Day, and try to prepare for the Castlehaven, for the Connacht champions, which was the venue. The Portlaoise was the venue chosen for that. So I suppose we were a little, hopeful going into that. We knew, we felt we were good enough, but maybe our preparations might have suffered a little bit. So we were cautious going into it, but after a stout battle now with Castlehaven, a very good team, we were extremely fortunate to get a goal in the first half, which led really to a second goal. We just benefited from a small bit of pressure, maybe, that came on the Castlehaven backs at that particular time. So those two goals in the middle of the second half set us up for a grandstand finish, where we really were under the cosh from the Castlehaven team for the last 10 minutes, I would say, and maybe more. And thanks to our goalie as well, Patrick O'Credan, who brought off two good saves. We lived to survive anyway, and all roads lead now, Sean, to Croke Park next Sunday. Somebody put up a sign up in the village already. The village is really bedecked in white and blue. 312 kilometres exactly from the gate of the pitch to the gate of Croke Park. So that's the journey for Sunday. And the whole community really are looking forward to it. And all our neighbours here, I must say, our neighbouring clubs, and have been fabulous with their good wishes and support. And I must thank Macroom especially as well for providing us or allowing us to use their lights as well for a few nights there. We were preparing. We actually had the practice of going to Macroom under their excellent lights on the Tuesday before each big match. And so they were gracious and very facilitating of us and fabulous to us. So we'd like to thank them for that as well. So that That was our prep, and it worked so far. So hopefully now we have one big game to go, 312 kilometers away, whatever it is, and hopefully that might work out for us too. We've studied John has put a huge amount of work into his analysis and stuff, and as I'm sure St. Patrick's Cullyhanna have done as well, because with the modern system now and all the games being streamed, sure, it's a great source of knowledge, as they say. But that works both ways, as they say. So look, we're hopeful. We're preparing away. We're injury free. We're hopeful. We're up against a good team, of course. We're the winners of Ulster and the other semi-final. So look, whatever happens, we'll have a great time anyway. But it is a game. We can't deny it. It is a big game. There's no doubt.
Yeah, no, in fairness, it's been a great year for you, and even things like that, preparation, everything, it's been brilliant. I remember speaking to John, he was saying, with the fact that you had the recordings of the games, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, he was saying, and he's a fantastic man, for sayings, and in terms of his training methods and everything are brilliant, but it's the second year with you this year, but you must be delighted to have him on board.
We're delighted to have a man of his experience on board. We were lucky to get him, and it took a bit of persuading, as they say, and alluding to the videos and the matches and stuff. John analysed our past matches, a number of them, before he decided or agreed to come on board. He brings a wealth of experience and a wealth of knowledge and experience at intercounty level and at our Ireland level, and he's been a part of management teams from his own club, Lawn Rangers, winning in 1996, to Tipperary, to Roscommon, to his huge experience and a wealth of it. And with experience comes, good practices and the amount of research John does behind the scenes. A training session will last an hour and a half. He'll have an hour's journey to Martra and an hour's journey home to Killarglen, but his preparation certainly doesn't stop there. The amount of knowledge and analysis he brings to the game, and the analysis of ourselves and improvements that we need to do, and analysis of errors that we're possibly making or errors that can be rectified in particular situations is huge. So John is a huge asset to us, and we're so happy to be where we are, and we're so happy that John is part of that setup that brought us to where we are, and we're very thankful to him and his wife Bridie too for putting up with us and for putting up with the long nights and the long journeys. The whole thing has gone on now since I think we started possibly on the 16th of January 2023, and here we are now on the 14th of January 2024, playing at headquarters, which is a huge thrill for us and a huge thrill for all the young supporters. I was up in the schools, I visited the two schools now yesterday, and the excitement is palpable. The youngsters I'm jealous of them really, because in the past we had nothing like that. The club would have struggled for many years at winning the Junior B until 1985 even, and our Junior A team then would have won its first Mid-Cork at Musgrave Championship in 2002, and then when we won two of them with another Kerryman, as it happens, a man called Derry Crowley from Glenflesk, who's Johnny Crowley's father, Johnny Crowley, that played intercounty with Kerry. But alluding to the schools and the children, the excitement is palpable. Older people are getting excited now too, and I've met a few octogenarians there earlier on today who have booked their train tickets, free travel to Croke Park. Sure, what could go wrong?
You got to do it. But even with John himself, like I was speaking to him during the week, and he was saying, the big message that he's giving to the lads is don't change, don't do anything different, keep the same fellas like you are. And it was Gassy was on about don't change your hairstyle. He doesn't want to see mullets. He doesn't want to see highlights. So I don't know if you're planning on getting highlights yourself, Ger, for the big occasion.
Too late for that now, I'm afraid. Yeah.
You missed the booking.
You still have time.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But as you said, the community has all gotten together. So, in terms of, it probably is. It's Martra's biggest day on Sunday.
Ever. It's the biggest day ever, and it really, the community we're a tight-knit community anyway, and greats of the team has always showed great support. But when this year, when Kilmihil, when the Munster Championship came to town, as they say, the conditions were onerous enough. The number of stewards needed, the back room, in terms of providing food for various different officials and stewards and Munster stewards and all that. It was the amount of volunteer workers we have that came together for that was fantastic. But when Castlehaven came to town, that was all doubled because of the crowd being bigger again. So we had, I think, everybody, every able-bodied person in the parish was doing something on that day, either parking cars, providing food, making sure walkways were clear, stewarding all over the place, making sure everything was safe. The camaraderie and the support was immense. Plus, and on top of that, then it finished off with a win. You see, that really puts the icing on the cake when all that help comes together, when all that volunteer work comes to fruition, and then you get a win as well. It was really special, and that special atmosphere has stayed. We have two areas in the parish, Martra and Rainary, and both communities have been absolutely fantastic, and it is just unbelievable, really. I suppose we have to pinch ourselves in our time to say, but I hope John won't see this now, lads. But it's fantastic to be there, and that I know we've a job to do there, but it's hard to not to be excited to be there too.
Of course, and you, as you said to me during the week as well, for the paper, that you'll be going up so many times to see Cork. It's so unique now to go up and see your own above there.
It is, and we have actually one statistic, I don't know, maybe more, but one player has never been to Croke Park, and his first trip to Croke Park will be as a player.
Oh, go ahead. Please.
So that's something for the books, as they say.
It is indeed. And another one then for you, Ger. John Evans gave you a small bit of a shout out today on a small podcast with Colin Parkinson, and he spoke about how he's a fella next to him on his side who'd do anything for the cause, and he spoke a small little story about you sweeping a road for a bride. So if you could give us any kind of a bit of a story behind that.
Not at all. John he's exaggerating a bit there now. It happened all right, but there's a daughter of one of our great clubmen, Tomasa Moraku, who owns the old Moraku's Tigtarna, that Diarmuid Ó Doneen is running now on a lease basis. But his daughter was getting married, and the tradition in that house is to walk to the church. So we definitely made sure the street was clean. We do it for everybody. It's a normal thing. We're often sweeping the streets, I'm afraid. We'll have to go back and get John to do Killargla now when he's finished with this.
Ger, one last bit from you, to kind of give you a kind of a local connection. You happen to be an uncle of a famous enough athlete, or two athletes, forgive me.
Exactly, yeah.
I'll be killed by that, I hope.
You'll be killed.
You can explain to us there the small connection.
Yes, Phil and Joan. Joan is the elder girl, but Phil. They're well-known athletes now, international, local and international athletes. They're a fantastic family. They're my nieces, along with their brothers, Diarmuid and Padraig. So they're a great family. They've been doing the family proud. The amount of work we have seen from our side now that in terms of GA, the amount of organisation and work and training that goes in, and then we're looking forward to a break, as they say. They have no break, so they're really the level they're at is stunning. Anytime you call to the house, there's probably not there, because the work that has to be done is unbelievable, and nobody knows exactly the amount of work that both Joan and Phil have to do to achieve what they've achieved, and to have the records that they've had, and the travelling they've done, and the places they've represented, not alone us, but Ireland as well. It's stunning, and they're fabulous. I'm afraid I couldn't run as fast as them any time, but I certainly can't now anyway.
I'd be the same. They'd be harping on here at home. Sure, your cousins with first 2 All-Ireland sprinters. You should be a bit faster than that. But
correct.
Unfortunately,
for your man, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know what's my problem, Jared. I probably I know I didn't get the hÉalithe speed anyway. I don't know if the Hurley speed might be a spot slower.
I don't think so. I think they're the Hurley. They have a history of runners as well. A great granduncle of mine, of ours, won a race in Cork City against the English champion. I think it was in 1890 something, and they were known as Gaelgas, the Rahis, which would be runners. Mm-hmm. So my grandmother was Lena Rahy, and Joan's and Phil's great grandmother was Lena Rahy. But I was talking to the Hurleys on a number of occasions about it as well. They have runners in their background as well, so it's definitely a combination.
Mm-hmm. No, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. The two of them are putting they're putting West Cork on the map, and they're helping giving us all days out to watch them and everything. But
exactly.
That's brilliant. But that's pretty much it from me, Jared. So listen, I wish you all the best. I wish Martra all the best the next day out. Hopefully you can do it, get the job done, because it would be a party to end all parties if you do.
Yeah, well, we've had a fabulous year, and thank you very much, Sean. We've had a fabulous year. I hope it ends well for us now, but we can still look back in a few months' time, whatever is the result, with great pride and satisfaction at achieving so much. And the bunch of players, I'd just like to refer to them very briefly, and I'd like to thank them in advance for their efforts. Like it's a tough schedule to put the nights in that they have to, between gym and between training and between matches. It's a tough schedule for amateur players, but the rewards are there, and they've really appreciated it, and we really appreciate their effort too.
Super. Listen, all the best. Thanks a million, Jared.
Thank you very much, Sean. Thank you.
The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
Welcome back to the Star Sport podcast. And Kieran, the Southern Star is in shops now. So why should everyone go out and buy a copy?
Because the Southern Star Sport is exceptional every week, and you don't want to be the one to miss out. But no, we've a cracking sports section this week. So much on, even though it's only mid-January. The new year was only a couple of days old. There's so much going on in West Cork sport, and hopefully we'll start as we mean to go on with a big year ahead. So obviously we have coverage of Castlehaven's loss to St. Bridget's that we spoke about earlier, and we have a super preview of Martra's All-Ireland Intermediate Club Final, interviews with hÉalithe and John Evans and so on. But as well as that, there's so much more. Sean Holland has a super piece, Dylan, where it's getting to the business end of the NFL over in America. There's 14 teams left. So what Sean wanted to do was pair up the 14 NFL franchises with their Carberry counterparts. So he's found links between the Dallas Cowboys and Castlehaven, or the Green Bay Packers and O'Donovan Ross. It's a really quirky, really good piece, and it's almost worth getting the Star to see the picture of Patrick Mahomes in a Carberry Rangers jersey. You know, these are things you never thought you'd see in the Southern Star, and I think that's right up there. But that's a really good piece by Sean Holland, and that's well worth checking out. And Sean is on form this week. He's a super interview too with Dunmanway jockey Gavin Sheehan, who had an incredible December. He 3 huge Grade 1 wins. So Sean caught up with Gavin just to chat about each and every one. So we have a full page interview on that. Also in the West Cork League, and just remember that the Southern Star is the only place where you can actually read about the West Cork League. It was a huge weekend last weekend as the Beamish Cup kicked off, and we have report and reaction from El Clonico, which is the Clonakilty derby between Clonakilty Soccer Club and Clonakilty United, and we also have a full round up of the Beamish Cup. We also have news of the Cork Ladies Senior Football Panel for 2024. Shane Ronayne has freshened up the panel, and there's a couple of new West Cork players involved. So see this week's Star for their names. And there's also news of one of West Cork and Carberry's most decorated ever camogie players, Orla Cronin. She's decided to step back from the Cork camogie senior squad for 2024. So we have news of that. And also, by the time you are listening to this podcast, the winners of 2 of the West Cork Sports Star Awards will have been announced on our social media channels, and the stories are on our website right now. So just want to say congratulations to Emma Hurley, who is the new West Cork Sports Star Paddy Palmer Youth Award winner, while Castlehaven GA Club have been named the West Cork Club of the Year. So congratulations to both. We can also announce that our guest speaker for the awards on January 27 is none other than Donal Linehan, the Munster rugby legend. We know him all as a commentator on our TVs, but this man, what he doesn't know about rugby isn't worth knowing, and it's very apt to think that Donal Linehan will be the guest speaker, given the strength and popularity of rugby in West Cork right now. But again, that's just a tip of the iceberg. We have so much more. We've Cork in the McGrath Cup. We've news of Conor Horan hitting double figures for goals and assists this year. I love the interview with Katie Kingston, who won a West Cork Youth Sports Star Award recently, and so much more. So It's in the shops and online now. So the advice, Dylan, is go and get yourself a copy.
Yeah, packed as always. And as Kieran said, it's all in shops across West Cork right now. And as always, if you're further afield, if you're not in West Cork for some strange reason, or you can't make it to the shops, you can subscribe to the Southern Star and get it on your laptop, tablet, or phone. Just head to subscribe.southernstar.ie, enter your details, and you'll get an exact replica of the newspaper for less than €2 per week, along with full access to our website as well. As always, thanks for listening to the Star Sport podcast, and thanks again to our sponsors at Access Credit Union. We're looking forward to a great year in West Cork sport. So if you've enjoyed this, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll be back again next week. Thanks for listening.